The $9,000 tax bill that almost ended my freelance business. 3 years ago, I opened an email from the IRS and my stomach hit the floor. $9,000. Due in 6 weeks. And I had exactly $1,200 in my business account. That single email almost ended my freelance career before it really started. If you're a freelancer, a contractor, or you run a small business where your income shows up in unpredictable chunks instead of a steady paycheck, this video is for you. Not for someone with a 9 to 5 and taxes withheld automatically. For you, the person who invoices clients, chases payments, and has probably felt that same stomach drop moment I'm about to describe. By the end of this video, you're going to have the exact system I built after that $9,000 gut punch. A system that means you never open a tax bill in a panic again. This isn't about getting rich. It's about something better. Never feeling blindsided by your own business again. Real control. Real peace of mind. Here's the thing nobody tells you when you go freelance. Nobody is withholding taxes for you. When you had a job, your employer quietly took a chunk of every paycheck and sent it to the government before you ever saw it. You never thought about it. The moment you start invoicing clients, that safety net disappears, and most of us don't realize it's gone until it's way too late. You get a $4,000 payment from a client and it feels like $4,000. It's not. A chunk of that already belongs to the IRS. But there's no line item taking it out automatically, so it sits in your checking account looking like spending money. You pay rent with it. You upgrade your laptop. You finally book that vacation you've been putting off. And then April, or worse, a quarterly deadline you didn't even know existed, arrives, and the bill comes due for money you already spent. Layer onto that the feast or famine cycle every freelancer knows intimately. 1 month you're turning down work. The next month you're refreshing your inbox wondering if any client is ever going to pay you again. Without a system, that unpredictability doesn't just feel scary. It actively wrecks your ability to plan for taxes because you're never sure which good month is actually good and which one is a mirage you'll be paying for later. And then there's the account chaos. Personal and business money mixed in one checking account, so you genuinely can't tell at a glance how your business is actually doing versus how much cash you personally have to spend. No safety net. No structure. Just vibes and a growing sense of dread every time you check your balance. That was me. And it's probably you too. So let's fix it. The first step is what I call the 3-account split. Open 3 separate business bank accounts: income, taxes, operating. Every single payment from a client lands first in the income account. Then, immediately, you split it. Roughly 25 to 30% moves to the taxes account, the rest moves to operating, which is what you actually use to run your business and pay yourself. This works because it removes decision-making from the moment of temptation. When money is sitting in one account, your brain reads all of it as mine to spend. When it's already been split before you even think about it, the tax money is functionally invisible. You stop seeing it as available cash, so you stop accidentally spending it. Here's what that looks like in practice. Client pays you $5,000. The second it lands, $1,400 moves to taxes. $3,600 moves to operating. You never had the chance to borrow from the IRS without realizing it, because that $1,400 was never really yours to begin with. The second step, pay yourself a salary, not whatever's left. Instead of spending directly out of your business income, set yourself a fixed monthly paycheck from the operating account. A number based on your average income over the last 6 to 12 months, not your best month or your worst one. This is what actually kills the feast or famine feeling. Your personal life stops being a roller coaster that mirrors your business's unpredictable cash flow. A slow month in the business doesn't mean panic in your personal bank account, because you built a buffer specifically so your paycheck stays steady. Say your income over the last year averaged $6,000 a month, but swung between $2,000 and $11,000 depending on the month. You pay yourself a flat $4,500 a month regardless. In big months, the surplus stays in operating as a buffer. In slow months, that buffer covers the gap. Your personal finances finally stop feeling like a casino. The third step, quarterly tax estimates. Calendar it like a client deadline. Set calendar reminders for the 4 estimated tax deadlines: mid-April, mid-June, mid-September, mid-January, and treat them with the same seriousness as a non-negotiable client deliverable. Every quarter, you check the taxes account, confirm you've set aside roughly what you owe, and pay it. This works because the $9,000 nightmare happens when a full year of underwithholding piles up into one devastating lump sum. Paying quarterly breaks that boulder into 4 manageable rocks. And because the first step already built the habit of setting tax money aside per payment, this step is just moving money you've already saved, not scrambling to find money you don't have. Instead of discovering a $9,000 bill in April, you pay roughly $2,250 4 times throughout the year, money that was already sitting untouched in your taxes account.
No scramble.
No panic email. Just a scheduled transfer. The 4th step, the monthly 20-minute business check-in. Once a month, block 20 minutes to review 3 numbers: total income received, current balance in your taxes account versus what you estimate you'll owe, and how much runway is in your operating buffer. This works because freelancers don't fail at taxes because they're bad with money. They fail because nobody's watching the dashboard. A monthly check-in means small problems get caught while they're still small, instead of turning into a $9,000 surprise you only discover once a year. Picture this. In your March check-in, you notice your taxes account is running about $600 lower than it should be for your income so far. Instead of finding that out in April with a bill due in 2 weeks, you catch it in March, adjust your next few transfers slightly upward, and the gap disappears before it ever becomes a crisis. I want to tell you about a client I'll call Maya, a freelance graphic designer who came to me 18 months after her own version of the $9,000 email. She'd been freelancing for 4 years, doing genuinely well on paper, pulling in solid client work. But she had one checking account, no idea what she actually owed at any given time, and had started dreading tax season the way some people dread the dentist. We put her on this exact 4-step system. First quarter, it felt clunky, new habits always do. By the 3rd quarter, something had shifted. She told me the moment that stuck with her wasn't a big financial milestone. It was opening her tax deadline reminder, checking her taxes account, seeing the number already sitting there, and paying it in about 4 minutes.
No drive.
No spreadsheet spiral at 11 p.m. Just done. That's the transformation this system creates. Not overnight wealth, the disappearance of financial panic. So let's bring it back together. Split your income the moment it arrives. Pay yourself a steady salary instead of living off the chaos of whatever's left. Treat quarterly taxes like a real deadline, not a surprise, and check in on your numbers monthly so nothing sneaks up on you. None of this is complicated. What it requires is a shift in identity, from person who happens to freelance to someone who runs their finances like an actual business owner. Businesses have systems. Businesses have separate accounts. Businesses plan for taxes instead of reacting to them. The moment you start treating your freelance income that way, the panic starts to disappear, not because you're earning more, but because you finally have control. If this is hitting home, hit subscribe now. I break down exactly this kind of freelancer-specific money system every week. If you've ever had your own version of that $9,000 email, that moment of pure financial panic, tell me in the comments. What's the number that scared you? I read every single one. And if you want the next piece of this system, next week I'm breaking down exactly how much you should actually be paying yourself, based on your real income, not a guess. Subscribe so you don't miss it.